Okay, well, we will go ahead and get started here. So, hello, everyone, and welcome to the American Family Insurance Dream Bank, where we believe in the transformative power of dreams. I'm Jenna, and on behalf of Dream Bank, we're thrilled to have you with us for today's event. For those who have attended our virtual or in-person events in the past, welcome back. For anyone that is joining us for the first time, I'd like to take a moment to introduce you to Dream Bank. Here at American Family Insurance, life's better when you're under our roof because when you feel totally supported and protected, any dream is possible. That's why we created DreamBank, an inspirational community destination and virtual experience designed to help people pursue, achieve, and protect their dreams. DreamBank's mission also includes our commitment to bring forward critical conversations about diversity, equity, and inclusion. We're honored to amplify speakers who represent the vibrant and varied dimensions of our ever-growing community of dreamers, and it is our earnest intention to offer content that leads to reflection, growth, and unity. We thank you for taking time today to learn alongside us as we celebrate Women's History Month. And now, I'm thrilled to introduce you to our speaker, Jackie Hermes. Jackie is the CEO of Excelity, a Milwaukee, Wisconsin-based marketing agency that helps B2B companies grow faster. With over 100,000 followers on LinkedIn, Jackie sparks discussions about digital marketing, the challenges of growing a company, her adventures in personal development, and a lot more. Jackie is a champion of female professionals in the workplace and advises numerous early-stage tech companies. In addition to her professional involvement, Jackie is an adoptive foster parent and loves traveling and spending time with her family. Welcome, Jackie. We're thrilled to have you with us today. The stage is yours.
Thank you. I am very excited to be here. I just ate a salad before this. I feel like that was a bad call because now my teeth are full of lettuce, but it's cool, you know. Let me get the presentation shared. Okay. Hopefully everyone can see my screen. Okay, so my professional introduction. I think you're going to find throughout this presentation that I am not all that formal. But we'll start with, I guess, me building on that short intro. My name is Jackie Hermes. I'm the CEO and founder of a company called Excelity. We build brands, we do websites and digital marketing for companies in a bunch of different industries, including education, food and beverage, insurance, healthcare, finance, and a few others. Before starting this company, I worked in a large healthcare company and then a tech company where I frankly worked my butt off and I tried to climb the ladder and I really learned how to advocate for myself there. I always kind of innately knew how to be loud, how to stand my ground. Like I was born with those two traits. But entering the professional world and learning how to be an advocate for myself and how to navigate the, I guess, political situations of the professional world was very new for me. And I did a lot of learning along the way, learning that was, I guess, not super easy. I brought all of those learnings to Excelity, which is a woman-owned and largely woman-run marketing agency, which we are very proud of. My business partner, Jenny, and I spend a lot of time coaching our team on how to communicate effectively with our clients, how to set and hold effective boundaries, how to negotiate, and just a lot of other communication related skills, which I am excited to be here and chat with you about today. I would love for this to be, I guess, as interactive as it can be with me talking at you for, I don't know, the next 15 or 20 minutes. So feel free to interact with me in the chat and I will answer as many questions as I can. So I wanted to start off with a quote that I like. It seems like today, honestly, even more than ever, it is courageous for us as women to think for ourselves and to speak up for ourselves. I would love to hear from everyone in the chat. What does it mean to you to elevate your communication? And are there specific things that you are hoping to learn today? Okay. While we're waiting for people in the chat, we will move on to the agenda. So we are going to talk today. Okay, so being comfortable saying no, we are going to cover that today. I actually have a list of different ways to say no that I use. Tired of muting my voice to make others comfortable. Setting boundaries. These are all things that we are going to talk about today, being my authentic self at all times. I love all of these, not minimizing and people pleasing, advocating for myself, more confidence. These are all really awesome answers, and I appreciate you guys all taking the time to answer. We are going to address a lot of this stuff today, and just a lot of lessons that I've learned, like I kind of said, in not the easiest way. So maybe you can do some learning from me today. So, we're going to talk a little bit about why your voice matters. You and your voice, I think you all know this, but you and your voice matter. It is important to speak up, and I think it can be really hard to speak up in professional situations. We're going to get into why. I think we all know a little bit about why and how you can do so more effectively. We're going to talk about communication traps that we all fall into. There are honestly so many of these. I could probably run a full session on the traps that we can fall into, but we're going to cover just a few of them that are common and that are top of mind for me and go into those. And I'd love to hear from you in the chat if you have questions as we go. So again, feel free to pop them into the chat and I will continue to answer as much as we can as we go. And then finally, we're going to discuss the habits and tools that make an impact. So there's a lot that I have learned over my nearly 20-year career in corporate and in entrepreneurship. And trust me, I've tried a lot. So some of them have gone well, some of them not as much. So we'll be learning today. Okay. Why your voice matters. Your voice leads to action. I think we all know that words have power. Your voice can lead to change. It's really up to you to do things like reaching out to others to build connections, to contribute, using your voice to solve problems, using your voice to make decisions. But all of that is a lot easier said than done, especially when we enter the workplace or when we're working to climb the ladder or even to start our own companies. A lot of us exist in a world that is statistically filled with men. A lot of the clients that we work with at my company, Excelity, are men. And it seems like men are often gifted with an innate power and kind of ability to speak up that sometimes we as women feel like we don't have, or like we're talking about in the chat right now. Sometimes we have to repeat ourselves, or sometimes we're called aggressive. It can feel like an impossible hill to climb. And I think it can be scary to use our voices, especially when we have been called aggressive or assertive. This is something that I have encountered and that I've talked about a bunch on LinkedIn too. When you speak from or act from a place of authenticity, it can inspire and encourage other people to do the same. I think that everyone has a story to tell and everyone has their own unique perspective. And by using your voice, it's really the only way to make your story heard. One example that I have is learning to use my voice on LinkedIn. And if you haven't connected with me there, I would love to connect with you. I started building on LinkedIn in 2018, and I really have not stopped. It has been 7 years now, which is crazy. I started when LinkedIn influencing, I guess, just became a thing. And I definitely did not want to. It was very scary. I think it is very scary to get on a platform like that and open yourself up to the criticisms, I think, of others, to share personal stories, to share your professional opinions. And people around me honestly like laughed. They made fun of me. They were not overly nice. I pulled that quote: first they ignore you, then they laugh at you, then they fight you, then you win. The unfortunate part there is that to get to the winning part, you have to get past the laughing, right? To get to that point where you are comfortable speaking up and where you're comfortable existing in your power, you have to get past that point where you feel like people are judging you and people are not always being nice, or you're afraid that people are speaking about you. And that is hard. And you really have to get comfortable with yourself. And that is something that we're going to talk about today. You don't get what you don't ask for. This is one of my favorite quotes, and it has been for a long time. I cannot remember where I heard it from, but I always ask myself, who is going to advocate for me if I do not advocate for myself? So for you, who is going to advocate for you if you do not advocate for yourself? When I was starting in corporate, the first job offer that I got was making $32,000 a year. At the time, it seemed like a ton, right? I was like, oh my God, like I was working part-time as an intern, making like $8 an hour. So it seemed like a lot. But then after I did some research and realized what other people that had graduated at the same time were making and that were doing similar work were making, I realized that that was actually not a great deal. So I made a case and I asked for more and I got it. And it gave me just a little bit of power to do it again. And every year after that, while I was working in corporate, I was offered that small raise that you get in corporate. Gosh, sometimes it's like 1% to 2%, which is nothing right now, right? With inflation, everything that we're dealing with, that is nothing. Every year, I tried to make a case and ask for more. I'm sure the company was extremely annoyed with me, but I didn't care because you don't get what you don't ask for. When I got my first hire in that department, I taught her how to go and negotiate with that company. I also expect and practically ask the members of my team to negotiate their own salaries because if they want more money, good for them. You don't get what you don't ask for. So ask yourself, who is going to advocate for you and what's the worst thing that could happen? All right, now we're going to get into the practical tips. Enough, I guess, context building. Let's talk about the communication traps that we fall into and the practical habits and tools that make an impact and that you can use every day to make changes in your life. Okay, so when it comes to the things that are holding you back, I mean, there could be, I think, a whole list here, but things like talking negatively about ourselves, minimizing language, saying yes too much, saying I'm sorry too much, lacking boundaries, avoiding speaking up when we have something important to say or when we have something valuable to say. These are common answers that I hear. And frankly, I've experienced a lot of these things myself. My biggest Achilles heel on this list is definitely saying yes too much and not setting and holding boundaries well enough. Even today, I will still periodically say yes to things that I don't want to say yes to, but I feel like I have to, or I feel like I should. Or I allow people to be energy vampires in my life. And I can't remember where I heard that phrase, but I've been using it ever since because I feel like it says exactly what it is. By that, I mean, I kind of let them like use my energy and take it away from me. Like they'll use me as a therapist, or I let their negative energy impact mine. And I bet this is true for a lot of you. It can be a really great trait to be a great listener and a great friend. And that's fantastic if you have the time and the energy to give to other people. But often we really have to learn how to set better boundaries for our own mental and physical health in those situations. And the first step to doing so is communicating. And that's hard. And we're going to get into it on the following slides. So, what is holding you back? Everything I listed on the last slide has one thing in common, and most of that stems from imposter syndrome. Now, I think that even the women that you see online, like I can think of some super successful women that I look up to that I think there's no way that they have imposter syndrome. They for sure have imposter syndrome. And even the people that are the most confident and look the most successful, they have it. And anyone that thinks or that says that they don't, I really believe that they're not telling themselves the truth or they're not telling you the truth. I looked up the definition for all of us, and it is a psychological experience characterized by a persistent feeling of being a fraud, despite evidence of competence and achievement, often leading to self doubt. That happens to me all the time. I will be in meetings and I'll be thinking, why am I here? Or why do people trust me to be here? Like, why do people trust me to be here talking on this topic? I heard there were like 400 people signed up for this. And I was like, oh no, like that's a lot of people. I really believe that we all have imposter syndrome. If you suffer from imposter syndrome like me, put it in the chat and we can chat about it. Okay. What's holding you back? Things like negative self talk, calling yourself names, saying, like, I was an idiot for doing that. It's even if you do so lovingly, it's still a problem. In my family, we say, I'm a dum dum. Like, it's lovingly and it's cute, and we're still calling ourselves names, right? It's not a nice thing to say. Belittling our opinions. People do that. I see people doing this all the time. I do it too. This might be a dumb idea, but you're discounting yourself right off the bat. When you do stuff like this, you're being your biggest hater. Minimizing language. I just want to say, I do this when I'm doing sales follow up all the time because I feel uncomfortable, right? I just wanted to follow up and ask. I just wanted to do this. Well, I was only thinking, I'm sorry, but I'll try to do this. Instead, we want to be our own BFFs. I love this phrase. BFFs is the relationship that we have with ourselves. So if you're going to be your own BFF, you're going to try to like put the relationship with yourself first. I read once something about how the relationship with yourself is the longest that you have in your life. And so you have to put that relationship first. You really want to try to challenge your inner critic and ask, are the things that I'm saying about myself really true? I think it's really easy to make assumptions about ourselves and to hold on to these long held beliefs and to not challenge them. And other people will say, no, you're not. Or I know a lot of people, like, I have a belief that I'm not good at math. I'll say, I'm a creative, I'm not good at math. I actually am really good at math. But for some reason, I have held this belief that I'm not good at math. I don't know why. So, what are you holding on to? What belief do you have about yourself that you need to break? And how can you talk more positively about yourself? Another thing that you could do is use a journal and practice gratitude. Use positive self talk. I always have thought that affirmations are so corny, but I have adopted one affirmation and it is, I am effing awesome. I won't say the actual word. But whenever I do something that I'm like, dang, okay, that was actually really great. Like if I close a big sale or I do something, I have a dance and I'll just say it to myself because it's like, again, if you don't build yourself up, no one else is going to. So, if there is one thing that you can do to build yourself up, what is it? Believing that you can. So, instead of saying, well, I think, it's not I think, it's I will or I can, or you're confident that it's a good idea. And then using I statements instead. So my husband and I go to therapy, and I think everyone should go to therapy. We always talk about using I statements instead of using you statements. We talk about this at Excelity too. We talk about staying above the line. We're not placing blame. We're not saying you did this, you caused this. We say, I feel like this, or I think that this happened. Remember that if you heard a friend talking badly about themselves, you would call them on it. We need to do the same things for ourselves. And that's how we should be speaking about ourselves. Okay, so on to the next things that might be holding us back. Saying yes too much. This is something that I already covered that I do. People pleasing leads to burnout. A member of my team helped me with these slides, and I was like, oh God, she's talking about me. This is me, big time, believing that we can't say no, having FOMO, fear of missing out. This is something that I think a lot of people suffer from. Over apologizing. I think, especially as women, we are really, really conditioned to over apologize and say sorry at the drop of a hat. You don't have to apologize every time something happens. Let's talk about how to combat this stuff. Practice saying no. Okay, so I read the book Essentialism maybe 5 years ago. In that book, the author goes through a huge list of ways to say no. And I still keep a number of these ways to say no in a note on my phone just so I can use them. And I pulled out a list of my favorite ones that I could read to you all right now. One is referring someone else that might be a fit. So, for example, I was speaking to a friend of mine maybe a couple months ago, and she had agreed to do this like small group speaking engagement thing. But she had agreed to it like a year prior. And when the time was getting close, it wasn't aligned with her goals anymore. And so we discussed her politely declining, but referring someone else that might be a fit. So, it's a way for you to say no, but hey, here's someone else that might be interested. The no but. I use this one all the time. So, for example, I'm going out of town for a week and a half next week. If people are reaching out to me right now to ask for a meeting or something, I might say, no, but if you reach out to me in mid-April, I'd be happy to get together. If they do, in fact, reach back out at that time, then I would be happy to get together. The trick is you can only use this one if you actually are going to want to get together at that time. 3 is let me check my calendar. Agreeing to things on the spot is almost never a good idea. I used to do this all the time. Let me check my calendar and get back to you. It's going to be a lot easier to say no when you are, in fact, getting back to them after you've checked your calendar, regardless of whether your calendar says you're free or not. This one is great and something that I talk to members of my team about. Yes, what should I deprioritize? If your plate at work is full, it's yes, I'm happy to help. What other project on my plate should I deprioritize in order to make room for this? That signifies that you are busy. Your plate is full. Your boss has given you a lot of high priority projects. So you don't just have to say yes to everything. You're asking for something else to deprioritize, and you are setting a very important boundary. And I thought this one was interesting too. You are welcome to X, and I am willing to Y. So, an example is maybe someone asks you to drive them somewhere. You might respond, you're welcome to borrow my car. I'm willing to make sure the keys are available for you. So, that says, I'm not going to drive you, but I'm willing to let you borrow my car. Remember that someone else's urgency is not always your urgency. I always tell my team members that if someone comes to you with something really urgent to them, but you know it's not super urgent to you, wait a couple hours to respond. It's often that they will be able to figure out how to do it before you respond. And if you're in a meeting or you're doing something, you don't have to respond. Same thing with reframing apologies. Anytime I find myself writing sorry in emails all the time, and I delete the sorry and figure out how to reframe it. So if you write sorry for the delay, it might be thank you for your patience. If you write so sorry for the mistake, unless you're making a really big mistake, you can say that was my error or something similar. Instead of saying, I'm sorry, I disagree, you can say, I respectfully disagree. You don't have to apologize for disagreeing. A lot of times when people are complaining to me, I want to say, I'm so sorry. You can say something like, that's frustrating, or I understand your frustration. If they're complaining to you about something that doesn't have to do anything to do with you, you don't have to apologize. And really, you shouldn't be apologizing, right? I think getting in the habit of taking that word out of your language is really important. Okay. I did not run through this time wise, and we are running out of time. Can we get a list of all of the suggestions? Yes, I can figure out what to do with them. And I think that we can potentially put the slides out as well. Okay. So, what is holding you back? A lack of boundaries. So, again, I think that a lot of high achieving women struggle with boundary setting, perfectionism, self doubt, imposter syndrome, all things that we have talked about. And then again, it is also hard to jump in. So, a lot of times we don't want to look rude. This has happened with me where I actually had the opposite, where I was comfortable jumping in. And then I did often get accused of being rude or called the B word, which I certainly did not appreciate. Women are also more likely to be interrupted when we are speaking, which impacts our confidence. So, doing this instead, set healthy boundaries. I think that a lot of times my biggest fear and a lot of women's biggest fear when setting boundaries is managing how others react. Like I said, people calling us selfish or people calling us the B word. I have been called the B word in a business setting a number of times, or being called aggressive when really we are only being assertive. And the aggressive label, I think, doesn't fit in a lot of places. Don't let that impact you setting your boundaries. I think that when other people are putting those labels on you, you have to remember that that is about them and it is not about you. When I am agreeing to a commitment, I really, really try to ask myself, does this align with my goals right now? And if so, how? Don't just say yes. I'm bad about that. And if it doesn't, you have to say no, even if it's something that you really want to say yes to. Speak up. The compliment and build technique is waiting for the other person to finish speaking or finish a thought and then jump in, compliment them. That's a great thought. And then build on what they're saying. Another way to speak up, a member of my team, I was teaching her how to speak up in situations where, again, we work with a lot of men who have a lot of opinions. Sometimes it can be something as simple as just bringing smart questions and being a whole poker, leading with curiosity. That can be a fairly simple way to speak up where you're not putting your mind and your opinion on the line. You're just bringing smart questions. It can be a little bit easier way to start speaking up. Okay, 12:29, we made it. So to recap, your voice matters. I think that you all came in here knowing that, and that is why you signed up today. But I hope that you all know that and are walking away with tools to better use it and how to work through these communication traps that we went through. And I hope that you are able to even pick up one of these practical tips that we went through today and start using it in your day to day life. And if you want to connect with me, here is my agency's website, my email address. Connect with me on LinkedIn. I am in the DMs there all the time. So I'd be more than happy to chat with you, to answer any questions. And please feel free to reach out to me there. And thank you, everyone, for attending. I really appreciate your time.
Thank you, Jackie. I did see one question that I do want you to answer really quickly. It was just the name
Yeah.
of the book that has the examples of ways to say no.
Oh, yeah. It's essentialism.
Essentialism.
I
Okay.
never say his last name because I do not know how to say it. Greg McCown? I don't know. I just put it in I looked it up once and it was
Okay.
just not how I thought you said it.
No
McCown?
worries.
Something like that.
Okay,
Very
perfect.
sunny in here.
That is
Oh, it's so
wonderful.
good. The book is so good.
Yeah,
I
I
know.
absolutely loved like all of the different examples you shared. So thank you for that.
Thank you. Yes. It's
And
fantastic.
again, thank you so much for sharing your time and insights with us today. Your message, I feel like, resonates deeply as we celebrate Women's History Month and continue to empower women not only this month, but every day of the year.
Yes. Thank you so much, everyone. I really appreciate it.
Yay. And again, just to all who joined us for this session, thank you for being here. You can learn more about DreamBank's free upcoming programming at amfam.com/dreambank and by connecting with us on our social channels. And if you're interested in exploring DreamBank's past events or this event, our YouTube channel is the place to be. On behalf of the American Family Insurance Dream Bank, we look forward to hosting you again soon. Until then, keep dreaming fearlessly. Thank you.
Thanks, everyone.